I try to leave my phone outside my room now, which has been like, I
Mm,
think it's like the sleep stuff, the hardest thing. I'm the
yeah.
same way. I had a problem with being on my phone for like an hour before bed, and then also right when I wake up, which is horrible.
Funny how.
Come here, come hither. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Yeah, dude, it's been a minute. And, you got the goatee going. You're a business owner now. I mean, things are serious in your life.
Totally, man, and you too, dude. I've been loving your rebrand. Your podcast rebrand looks awesome.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, it took me a while to, as you know, obviously building a brand is challenging, especially if you're stuck in like one way of doing it. And then obviously things constantly change in terms of marketing. And, I was like with the whole Apple rebrand and the way they're changing their analytics and transcribing podcasts and SEO, like they're doing so many interesting things. And then they're literally penalizing podcasts that have the word podcast in them from an SEO standpoint. And, a lot of podcasters always told me, they're like, hey, it doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter. And then like, as I continue to interview fellow podcasters that continuously grow, and I've been stuck around like 2,000 to 3,000 subscribers for like a year. And I'm ducking out content. Like I was spending a lot of time on content. And I keep hearing from people like, we're listening, we're sharing, but I'm not really seeing in the numbers. So then I was like, I've been sitting on this name for a while. I just got to pull the trigger and I got to rebrand it. And literally it's been 2 months and already I'm seeing growth.
Really? Wow.
Which is weird because obviously nothing's changed. I mean, the guests are still, they're guests. I mean, whether they got big followings or not, that doesn't really matter from a podcast standpoint. But like in terms of content, I'm not doing anything different. It's only like when I post that RSS feed and I'm seeing growth. So either it's coincidence or I don't know what it is, but I think it has, something to do with it for sure.
So. Yeah, man. I think, it's like, I think the way it's packaged, it helps. I'm sure like you'll see it over time and like, guests wanting to come on and stuff too. It's like, yeah, the more legit it feels, like the more legit people want to come on and like the results and the analytics and everything. I mean, like, dude, even just like the amount of money and time people put into like the thumbnails for their YouTube videos or like the amount like Netflix tests like through AI and machine learning, they're like little thumbnails for content. Like, I guess it like legitimately helps the way stuff's packaged. It's like, I don't post on any of these platforms, so it's hard for me to wrap my head around, but it's crazy.
It is fascinating. And it's more fascinating, like from a consumer standpoint, like you don't realize it, but subconsciously we are driven to that. There's even little things. You mentioned Netflix. I was reading an interesting article where Netflix not only has been testing using AI, doing thumbnails like you would with YouTube, like A's and B's, but they also customize. They have a For You page essentially, which I just found this out. I don't know if you know this, but based off your interests, the thumbnail will change. So like throwing it out there, I don't know, like let's say it's Love is Blind. Well, a guy would be on my thumbnail of Love is Blind. Meanwhile, my wife, when she watches Love is Blind, it'll be a couple, maybe arguing or something. That would be the thumbnail because that's what she's driven by. And based off the clicks, it constantly changes. So like if you notice your favorite movie, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, I just saw this morning, but that thumbnail changes constantly. But I watch it a lot. So it's like it's Netflix's testing to see what's working and what's not. And you don't realize it, but when you dive deep into this stuff, it's like, I can't believe there's a dude behind the computer like, oh, what is Tony doing? Let's switch it. It's like, so strange,
It's wild, man. It's wild.
Yeah. But so welcome back, dude. I mean, you've been traveling for, forever, right? Like where have you gone this year?
Yeah, I've been traveling quite a bit. I spent a little bit of time in Dubai in the beginning of this year. My parents and like some families there, so that's always a really fun trip. And then like a couple smaller, just like US trips. Was in Miami. I've been in New York like a few times. But yeah, mostly that, just kind of like bouncing around. A lot of it's been like work stuff for Lucky Lad, but
nice.
It's good. I find that I just get really like, I live in Toronto still in Canada, and I just get like every 2 or 3 months, I'm just like, like I want to leave and I just want to go on a trip. And then like while I'm on these like longer spurts of traveling, I just get like really frustrated because I'm like, I don't have my routine. I don't have like all my like supplements and my things and my sleep's off. And I'm like, I just want to go back home.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I had decided was either I'm going to go on weekend trips or month-long trips, nothing in between.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Is there any protocols in particular that you looked in to drive that, or is it just kind of a social experiment for yourself?
It's just a routine thing mostly. I like, dude, I've set the most insane like me and you, I think like at some point texted about like sleep stuff. Or like you commented on one of my sleep videos and we were chatting a little bit, but
yeah,
I like got super obsessive over sleep over the past year. I got one of these bad boys.
Way to go.
And I always like historically remembered myself like telling myself this, it's like the story like, oh, like I just like get horrible sleep, like I'm just like I just don't get bad sleep, maybe it's genetics, who knows. But once I started like making small tweaks, like I have amazing sleep. I'm like almost 90% every night now. And
Wow.
I set like the craziest conditions for myself. Like I have like the blackout curtains, I have a sleep mask, I wear like the red light glasses, all my lights in here go red at night. And
Wow.
like even if I'm in like a nice hotel traveling, it's like you can't simulate that.
Mm.
And it's just like, yeah, so like sleep's the biggest thing where I'm like, unless I'm in my apartment here in my room, my sleep's gonna suffer. And just like working is really tough. I feel like when I'm traveling, it's like,
Right.
you're doing stuff, you're like going out meeting people, which is nice. Like that's like valuable in and of itself, but I just like don't really have time to work as much
Yeah.
as I need to right now. So I'm like, a weekend doesn't really disrupt things too much. And a month gives me long enough time to acclimate and like find my flow in a place. But anything in between, I feel like I'm anxious.
Yeah. And are you working in any type of like fitness when you're traveling, or no?
Yeah, fitness for sure. So that was the other thing. So started like getting pretty hardcore with like training and personal training over the past year. And yeah, health's I think been like the number one switch I've been trying to turn on this year.
Yeah.
So that's also super frustrating where it's like you're in like a little tiny hotel gym and
Right.
you can't really do anything. So I like recently I was in New York. I tried to, if I can't like work out as frequently or if I don't have like a hotel gym or anything I can do, I was just trying to do like the little like fitness classes in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, do like a little
Yep.
spin class or yoga class or something. That
Right on.
usually helps. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't obviously travel that much anymore, but when I used to, one thing, and I think it was Peter Attia that talked about this recently, where if you do travel, if it's more than 2 hours in a plane, or excuse me, if it's more than 2 hours from a time zone difference, so like if you're going east to central time, that you should work out immediately. And you don't eat at all. You fast the entire way. And then as soon as you land, you work out. You do some sort of 30-minute, doesn't have to be hardcore, work out immediately and then eat. And he said that will drastically, increase your ability to kind of get used to things. But essentially, I'm guessing, I didn't hear the whole clip, but I'm guessing it has something to do with you're really just pushing your body to the limit, right? And then by the time you do sleep, especially if it's a nighttime flight, and then you sleep, and then you kind of reset, where your body's like, it's releasing these, heat shock and cold shock proteins, depending on what type of therapy you do. And you're just doing it right away. And then you sleep, and then your body just kind of resets when you wake up. And I had never done that, but I think of it to myself where I always ate before the flight like an idiot. And then when I would land, what do you usually do? You meet up with friends, you have a couple drinks, yada, yada, yada. So your whole like pattern's all messed up already. And then you go to sleep, and then you feel that kind of like hangover slash, what do they call it? The
jet lag.
jet lag. Yeah. But he says you don't have any jet lag when you do this. And I've always wanted to test it out, and I thought it was fascinating.
Dude, I did that. So I saw it from Gary Brecka. It seems like we're in the same little like
Our For You page is pretty similar, I think. So.
yeah. But I did same thing where I fasted because like I'm so bad with eating on planes, like especially like when going to Dubai, it's like this crazy like 13-hour flight,
Oh,
and it's so much idle time. You're sitting there so bored. I'm like, I just want to eat the whole time. So,
the worst food, by the way.
oh yeah, just garbage. Just
Yeah.
yeah, dude. I had like 10 packets of wasabi peas, just like random things I just don't
Oh.
eat on land. but but I tried it. I fasted the entire flight, and then I fasted when I got there, and immediate like grounding when you're there with the soil, and then like a workout. I just did like a run, and like
Nice.
I found within like a day I got over like this crazy 8-hour jet lag, or like 8-hour
Wow.
time difference.
Yeah, there's got to
Um,
be something to it. That's fascinating.
I read this book, The Circadian Code, which is like a really really great book about just like body circadian rhythm, and I think
Yeah.
it's that your body is like just as closely tied, or like your body's circadian rhythm is equally informed by your eating patterns as it is by your sleep patterns. So like
Mm,
you not eating is basically like helping reset your circadian rhythm, and then like when you choose to eat, it tells your body to like whatever, like
that
release
makes a
certain
lot of
hormones.
sense. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. I realized that in particular when I did, speaking of Gary Brecka, I did his water fast a few months back,
Mm.
and that was incredible. It was brutal, but it was incredible.
And then Dana White made one that was like mainstream bro found out about fasting. And it was funny. I have this like call with like a bunch of friends who all do like ecom stuff together, and we were on it, and like there were like 3 out of 5 of us were like fasting, like a day after that video. We're like, oh yeah, man. I was like looking into this thing called like 3 day fast, and then everyone's like, oh, you saw the Dana White video, and so yeah, I did that too, and for me it was crazy. I tried and failed at it 2 times before actually doing it, which made me realize I was like, my my just like blood glucose and like insulin response is like so out of whack that like I can't even like control when I eat, which I was like pretty crazy. Like intuitively, I thought I was like I could go like a day without eating, no problem. Like I'll just go to bed, wake up, it's fine. And like at night, like I couldn't fall asleep. I was so hungry, and I was like whatever, I'm just gonna go eat. And I was like, all right, that's like pretty messed up. That my like response to insulin is so extreme that I can't even go a day without eating. But eventually I think on the second attempt I powered through, and like whatever, day two you get way easier. Yeah, I'm gonna try to, I think, again like in another month or two, and see. I haven't done my blood work since then, but I heard it is pretty game changing for just like your hormone levels.
So yeah, dude. So this is fascinating. So I know you because I want to get into Lucky Lad, and for people who don't know, I'll leave everything in the description below. But kudos, dude. Two things. Number one, I don't know if this was intentional. I'm sure it wasn't, but you, it probably was intentional. But you did a great job at it because this is the problem a lot of brands have, in my opinion, is especially when it comes to innovation. They'll launch a new brand or maybe they innovate and switch gears and go to a different brand, but there's nothing like leading up to it. What I loved about your content is I've known you for whatever, almost 2 years or something like that, and I've been following you for longer than that. So like I know this is not something that you're not passionate about, right? Like you talked about it for a year straight, and then when you came up with this product, Lucky Lad, I was like, for sure, makes sense. I'm down. I'm with it. He's been doing his research. I know he wouldn't promote something if he wasn't all about it. Like, so the fact that he started an ecom, I'm game. So that's why I'm super stoked to try it because I think you wouldn't put something out if it wasn't something you truly believed in. So was it? I mean, was that intentional or was it like, you've been wanting to do this for a while? Like, tell me a little bit about Lucky Lad and how kind of it came to fruition.
Yeah, so have always been super into this kind of like health optimizing space, and like kind of finding really cool products for health, and yeah, and then also have like historically growing up and being in college been very passionate about like partying and going out and drinking, and yeah, I spent a few years, or like I spent like the past 5 years doing different things in ecom and business, and started from doing like really sleazy dropship stuff on my own, and like working with a guy or like a friend I met online who's like running ads, and I'm building stores, to then like a little bit more refined agency work and doing strategy for a bunch of these like health and supplement brands, kind of launching in Whole Foods, Erewhon, stuff like that. But always like kind of had this crazy inclination towards health products. And Um, I kind of like, from observing like a lot of the brands that popped off in 2023, I realized that, first of all, that like Gen Z is getting wealthier and wealthier through like the creator economy and just like online money and stuff like that. And then also kind of observing that unlike any other generation, they're down to uproot pretty much any brand in their life. Like, my parents, for example, have been using the same like shampoo, deodorant, toothpaste that they've probably been using since they were kids.
Right.
And they're like super bought into like legacy brand and like whatever they find in a grocery store. Whereas, like I'm 26, like most people my age, it's like something makes me laugh on a podcast and I'll like switch up this like, whatever water bottle brand that I've been using my entire life.
Right.
Um,
And
so
you're open minded to going back to anything else too. You're never committed to something. It's always because we're very trend based, right? Like Gen Zs and millennials, and I wouldn't say all millennials, but at least I am because I'm in the industry. But Gen Zs, I feel like they're more trend based. Stanley's a great example too, where it's like that was the trend now, but now there's a new one that's fine as coattail. So it's fascinating.
yeah, super trend based. And yeah, like, people are down to give newer brands a chance. And like if a brand has personality and speaks to someone, like they're down to give it a shot. And I found that like I kind of intuitively understood that and how to like position a brand to like speak to a Gen Z or younger person more than like I feel like the average marketer or the average person did. And then there was this like intersection of health, and I really wanted to create a product in health. And I was trying to think of some like sort of unique problems that someone my age had health wise, that was sort of like unique to our generation, and there wasn't really some great solutions out there. And hangovers and just like relationship with alcohol in general was this like crazy big thing popping up everywhere. And I found it in my own life where I was like, I'm going through this phase of life where I need to work more and more, and I'm like 100% into like health and self-improvement and productivity. But, I'm also like a mid-20s guy who, has a social life and is like moving to new cities and wants to go out and meet people and like drink and have fun, go to dinners and stuff. And like those two things, it was really tough to have those two sort of elements coexist, where I was like, I go out to dinner on a Wednesday and I have 2 glasses of wine, and then my sleep's absolutely wrecked and my brain doesn't work until 11 a.m. the next morning. And I'm exhausted and anxious and nauseous the entire next day. So I would always like listen to like these podcasts and stuff that we're talking about and just like mash together these like sort of like janky bootleg solutions for stuff. Like, I'd hear Huberman talk about these 3 things for sleep. And I'd be like, okay, I'd like order like 2 of those things from Amazon. I'd find another thing in a grocery store and I'd like, try to get the doses right. And I'd like make these little like cocktails for like specific health needs in my life. And I found that there was nothing really high quality for hangovers out there. A lot of people were using liquid IV and electrolytes and stuff like that, which doesn't really like, it's good for hydration. Like you chug a glass the morning after, you'll feel a little bit more alert, but there was nothing really high quality that had like a great amount of efficacious doses that's actually detoxing your liver while you sleep. So spent about a year. I was working at another healthcare company before that was doing a lot of prescription products and like a lot of natural supplements. So was sort of exposed to the whole world of like, manufacturing products and pharmacies and stuff like that. So a little bit alongside of like me working there, I was sort of developing something, and the hangover stuff was like I was becoming like more and more obsessed with the idea of like curing hangovers, and like started digging into it a bit more and like saw that like hangovers is like, at least in America, like a really legitimate, I made a TikTok about it the other day, like a legitimate burden on the economy.
Yeah.
Where, people are like not as productive, and like you're losing like hours and hours a day of like productive work out of people just because they're like drinking midweek. And yeah, like the more I talk to people and talk to younger people, a lot of the problems that I was having with alcohol and productivity, almost everyone was having them.
Right.
So that's where the product came from. And I just wanted like, I didn't want to make a healthy product or like a natural health product that felt like this gross, super medical branded, like it's like an STD medication.
Right.
I want it to be like a
Yeah.
fun like thing that's like a part of your ritual that's like enjoyable to consume. So made it like a good tasting gummy, but it like solves this like pretty real problem.
That's fantastic. Yeah, because I mean, you know, I've tried stuff before where there was like I forget the name of the company. I don't even want to give them a shout out because it sucked anyway. But it was like it was a packet, almost like an Athletic Greens trial packet, like a mix, and you mix it in your water before you go to bed, and it tasted like someone took beets and broccoli and blended it together with a splash of cherry. Like it was just not good. But you know, it worked.
Yeah.
Sure. But you know, you got to like that thing. You cover the nose and you take the shot, and it worked. It was good, but it wasn't enjoyable, like you said. So the fact that you know, I don't know if there is any other, if you have any other direct competitors, but it's a genius idea because I think a lot of times when we think about gummies, we think about multivitamins and all that stuff. And when you look at like all the ingredients that are packed into those multivitamins, the efficacy, like you said, is just not there because there's not enough in those multivitamins that make it worth it. You know, if you take just straight B12 gummy, sure. But these multivitamins that have like 50 ingredients and they taste like legit gummy bears, no, bro. Those are not good. Look at the back. Look at the MIGs on those things. It's like 5 milligrams per serving. It's not enough. So I looked at the ingredients list on your stuff and just the fact that it has everything you need and it has a good amount of it. I think that's key. So did you go through a lot of trial and error when it came to the formulation, or did you have something in mind before you
Yeah, a lot of trial and error. 100%. Like that was the biggest priority where first of all, I like wanted everything to be in really high quality, efficacious doses. So like 100%, like a lot of, like there's a lot of people like slam 20 different ingredients into a gummy and they're all at these like tiny negligible doses. And you read the label, you're like, oh shit, it has like this and B vitamins and like ashwagandha and all this stuff. But it's at such tiny doses, like none of it's doing anything.
It's like 5% of your daily intake.
Exactly. So yeah, like I just three ingredients for me: DHM, milk thistle, prickly pear, all at their like efficacious doses. And you know, like my biggest thing in making this product was, you know, there's so much stuff in our cabinets for like in terms of vitamins. It's like, you know, you read something in some article or you like watch a podcast about something. Most people will like buy a $20 product on Amazon. And it's like, you know, like I've been taking zinc for years. I don't know, like, is it doing something? Is it not doing something? For me, like the game I'm playing with e-commerce and like direct to consumer is that the only shot my business has of succeeding is someone reordering my product. Like it doesn't really do anything for me if someone buys it once. So I need it to work right away, right when someone buys it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like it's like, you know, people take it at night, they wake up and they feel the difference like within hours. So I kind of needed it to work and needed it to like sort of be like shocking in how it works.
Yeah.
So a lot of trial and error.
You were the guinea pig, I assume?
Dude, I was a guinea pig. I was a guinea pig. A lot of my friends were the guinea pigs. It was funny. I was because I think like a lot of the like magic. Oh,
I got you. Still, you're good.
Okay, yeah. A lot of the magic with these gummy brands is like sort of just like placebo. You know, you take this thing and you're just like, oh, like I guess that helped me sleep.
Right.
Dude, I was doing like wild stuff. I was getting my friends hammered and giving like half of them placebo gummies.
No.
And, yeah. Like we go to like music festivals and I'd have like 4 friends come with me and I'd be like, I'm paying for your drinks all night. Like we're testing the gummies tonight. And we'd go out and like we'd drink and then we'd go to bed. We'd all be like staying at a hotel or something. And then I'd wake up and we're like, let's see who it worked for. And it was almost like comical. Like I remember I went with like 2 friends this one time to go watch a DJ, and I gave one of my friends a placebo gummy, one of him like a Lucky Lad gummy. In the morning, it's like buddy with the Lucky Lad gummy, he's like shaking his like protein shaker bottle like up at 7 a.m. And like the other guy's just like passed out in bed. I'm like, it's comical how the like double blind study worked.
Bro, have you posted these double blind studies? Like, or have you been interested in like doing like a mass, you know, going to whether it's a festival or a concert or something like that and, you know, taking a group of friends and like studying them and doing some research on it?
a bunch. I actually recorded a bunch of really funny content around it, and I'll be probably posting in the next couple weeks or so. But yeah, I recorded a
Sick.
lot of the stuff where I'm giving people placebos. I
That's amazing.
recorded I recorded a hilarious one where I got some random dude at a bar to I like bought him a bunch of drinks and I made him run a marathon in the morning.
No way.
Just using Lucky Lad. So
That's
just
amazing.
a bunch of good stunt type stuff like that.
Oh, I can't wait. That's great. And how is everything going from an econ standpoint? I mean, things going well?
Things are going well, man. Really focusing on I think like selling a product online is really powerful because you have a lot of line of sight as to like who's buying it, why people are buying it. You can communicate with them. So it was really important. Like, there's a lot of businesses that launch in retail or start selling in stores. And, store buys it, they ship out all these products, and it's kind of like a black box. You don't know how people are receiving it. You don't know like
Sure.
why people bought it, the demo of people who bought it. Like you have kind of rough guesses, but for me, it's like I have a list in my Shopify of every single person who purchased. And like I try to go through and call every single one of them. It's like, why'd you buy it? Like, who are you? Like, where do you live?
Oh, really?
And
Wow.
yeah, so it's given me some pretty crazy insights just doing that, learning about why people are buying it. I think the biggest thing was that like I came into the brand with a bunch of assumptions about like, oh, it's gonna be this sort of like bro in his 20s who's buying it to like sort of like work hard, play hard type thing.
Hmm.
And overwhelmingly, it's been like, like kind of fluctuates between like 60 to 70% of women buying it. And like older women, like 30 to 35. And
Sure.
impacting a lot of these people, it's like nurses, moms, like people with like pretty demanding jobs who are using it very functionally. So I thought it was going to be like a crazy emotional purchase. Someone's like, oh, like cool, like, wacky looking brand for hangovers. I'll give this thing a shot, try it, it works.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are just like, they're a lot more well informed than I thought they were. Like people know what DHM and prickly pear are. People are like researching ingredients and doses. People know that they need DHM for like morning after nausea. And I also like kind of didn't really like know this going into the brand, but found out that a lot of women are like, like physiologically can't swallow pills. So they search exclusively for gummy brands. So
Whoa.
that's something I found out through like calling a bunch of people, then digging in, doing the research, and like kind of connected with a female audience through that.
Yeah, that's genius. I mean, my wife, she hates pills. So like everything she takes is gummies. And spoiler alert, the gummy, bullshit brand that I was talking about, it's hers. She drinks, but she's the type of one where she's on the placebo side. Like, no, I feel better. I definitely, I could tell there's zinc in here. I could feel the zinc. I go, can you really though? So there's no way of talking her out of it because she just enjoys the orange and strawberry flavored gummies or whatever it is. But I could totally see that for sure. Especially you mentioned, nurses, first responders, hospitality, 100%. I could see that because I used to be a bartender and a server, and I would even do that because there is a difference, right? If you're in the hospitality industry, or really if you work late nights or whatever, if you work till 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and then you have one beer and you try to wake up at 7 a.m., it's a different level than if you were to go to bed at 8 p.m. with a beer and wake up at 6 a.m. I mean, there's a big difference in that time gap of sleep, even just a couple hours at night. It's because we talked about circadian rhythm, right? There's a lot of science and studies behind the second the sun goes down, your body starts to unwind. Well, if you go downstairs and you're at the bar and you're doing shots of tequila and you start dancing around, well, guess what? Your body's like, oh, this dude ain't going to sleep. Okay, let's start dancing again. So now that circadian rhythm is all fucked up. So that's why those ingredients you mentioned are so beneficial, because it not just helps you unwind, but it helps that recovery the next day. Because that is what a hangover is, right? It's your body essentially pushing out these toxins, and it's not meant to do that. So that's where the nausea comes in and you feel fatigued. It's because your body has been trying to do this while you're sleeping. And when you're sleeping, as we've learned through these protocols, you're supposed to be like, shut down, recovery time. You shouldn't be doing shit. There should be no stimulation. It should be calm. It should be peaceful. Insert meditation music here. It should be relaxing. You should have no light coming in. Like it should be this Zen moment. And then when you wake up, you go outside, you hit the sun right away, and now your body's like, okay, it's time to hunt saber-toothed tigers. Like we're ready now, But a couple drinks will throw that off, right?
Totally. Absolute chaos. Like I remember I used to drink and it was like, I'm waking up every like 30 minutes, like anxious, jumping up, like checking my phone. Like, did I story anything? Puts phone back down, like keeps drinking water. Now I'm like waking up to pee every 30 minutes. I'm like, I'm just like awake the whole night.
Yeah. That is, that's the challenge of like those electrolytes, right? Drinking those beforehand is because that's kind of what it's doing. It's trying to push out and hydrate you and push out everything. So when you wake up, you don't have as much energy as you think. You might be hydrated, but you're not ready to conquer the day with those IV drinks.
No.
Like Pedialyte used to be my go-to, but I learned this trick back in the day where, you would always, once you're about to calm down, you do 2 to 1. So 2 glasses of water compared to 1 drink you have. So if you have a glass of wine, you do two glasses of water and then you do your wine. And then right before you go to bed, you chug Pedialyte. And then when you wake up, you chug Pedialyte. That is a horrible disaster if you're trying to get work done. Not only are you going to be peeing every 30 minutes, but you're still going to feel nauseous and exhausted, and your body's gone through this train wreck. And it's important to have something in place if you're going to go ham, right? And I mean, is Lucky Lad, is it meant for? I mean, I'm sure there's no minimum or maximum unless you tested it, but is it meant for the person that just has a glass of wine? Is it meant for the person that goes hard? Does it not work after 10 shots of tequila? Like what? Have you done these kind of tests?
Yeah, totally. So it has like some effect in sort of every case. I found that in most cases, it worked the best on people who kind of had less than 5 drinks. So anyone who has like 1 to 5 drinks on a night out, it like will almost feel like you didn't drink when you woke up. So like that amount of alcohol at like the doses of DHM and prickly pear that are in the gummies, it will like basically metabolize all the alcohol or like nearly all the alcohol before you wake up. So, like I've had like 4 or 5 drinks, taken the gummies, gone to bed, had like, 6-7 hours of sleep and woke up and you just like forget you drank, you feel that alert. More than that, if like people are doing like, blackout drunk level amounts of alcohol, it's like nothing can help you. But like even in that case, like, you drink a ton, it does help. Like maybe you won't throw up. You'll feel like a lot less nauseous. But you'll still have like a pretty killer headache. But that was like, there are definitely some choices I needed to make and like what kind of ingredients I put in this thing. There's like a million different elements of the hangover. There's like the dehydration, there's a poor sleep, there's like the, stomach acid issues and like digestion issues you get. Mine is a lot more focused on nausea, anxiety, headaches, and alertness. So I just basically wanted to make the product the best product out there at helping people be more productive in the morning. So a lot of like the brain fog issues you get and just like the not being able to get out of bed and like the painful anxiety and just like the nausea where you're just like, I just need to chill for a few hours. If I could just get rid of those like extreme feelings and could help people work and not be burdens on our economy anymore.
Yeah, what was that statistic that you did on TikTok? That was great.
Dude, it was crazy. It was like tens of billions of dollars a year.
That's so funny. Well, and I mean, it makes total sense too. I mean, because if someone's not productive, right, during the day, I mean, obviously that's going to take effect on whether it's their business or, the company that they work for. So it's a real thing. And to tell people to stop drinking, that's probably not going to happen. So we might as well fix the root cause, which is, I forget the statistic, but I think it's like 86% of Americans have over 4 drinks per week. That's a lot.
It's pretty wild, man. It seems like there's 2 different things kind of happening at the same time right now. Cause it was like, the research was kind of convoluted in terms of like what's going on in America with alcohol. Cause like, my personal experience is that I'm going out in like some of these like coastal elite cities, and a lot of people, like I said, like you go to dinner with a big group of people, like maybe one or two people aren't drinking anymore. A lot of people are doing the sober curious thing. People are doing dry January, sober October. You read these things about Gen Z drinking like 10 to 20% less than the generation before them, like drinking age Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that trend in like a lot of these like wealthier, dense coastal elite cities in America. But then you like read about all this like Bud Light Modelo stuff where everyone else in middle America is drinking more than ever. So
Yeah.
there's kind of these like two converging things
Yeah.
happening at the same time. I think like, like one crazy thing that like I always think about is like have you ever seen the show Mad Men?
Oh yeah.
So like I always think about Mad Men as like, you watch that show and it's like set in the 50s and you're like, it's so insane how like ingrained cigarettes were in like their day-to-day life, where, they're in the office smoking a cigarette, they like leave work like between a meal in restaurants, everything like that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people are going to like stop drinking anytime soon, but I definitely think that there'll be like a time in the not so distant future where we'll be like, it's insane how often, how much, and in like how many settings people drink. Like people are
Yeah.
drinking in planes, like people are drinking like at work or like after work on like middle of the week. I think stuff like that will start to feel crazy to people fairly soon.
Yeah. Yeah, and if it's not that, it'll be kind of what you see happen with the seltzer market, right? Like that trend with White Claw, which just fucking obliterated the competition. And the next thing you know, every single person, every single company on the planet had their own alcoholic seltzer. And then now you see these companies starting to switch to non-alcoholic. So, and this shift when you look at like, because beer's been around for like legit Bud Light, I think has been around for over 100 years, right? So you look at like that whole business, it took us 90 years to get to this point. And then just in a matter of 5 years, we went from everyone drinks seltzer, everyone drinks hard tea, everyone drinks this. There's a Four Loko craze before that. And then now it's the non-alcoholic stuff. And now it's dipping. I think eventually if it's not gone completely, because I don't really see that happening. What I see is kind of like maybe taking the ingredients in Lucky Lad, let's say, and maybe they start infusing that into the alcohol, right? Like that to me, I think could be the next wave of things because, again, if you can't, you want people to buy alcohol. So if they're not going to buy alcohol with alcohol, let's sell them alcohol that has zero alcohol, but we got to get them to buy something. Eventually people are going to be like, well, why would I drink an O'Doyle's, right? Non-alcoholic when I could just not drink, I'll drink water instead and it's better for me. Why would I want to just consume straight gluten wheat, right? So then they're going to be like, oh, well, let's have wine that's infused with, maybe 5-HTP and, L-theanine. I mean, whatever they want to put into it, something that kind of calms you down so that way it's not so destroying to your body. I don't see these companies kind of going under. I think they're going to evolve and change a little bit. And you look at like cigarettes, that's a great example what you mentioned with Mad Men, because it was part of the culture. I mean, doctors were prescribing cigarettes. It was so fucking popular. So but then there was vaping, right? And then now people are starting to understand, maybe vaping is not the best thing for us. So let's switch to weed.
Yeah.
So it's weird how culture makes such a huge impact, but us as the consumer, we never stop, I've noticed, especially because I haven't drank in over a year. We don't stop. We just we move over to something else. We're supplementing one addiction for another. And we can always say that we're not addicted. We don't have addictive personalities, but we do. We're humans.
Yeah. You just got to channel it somewhere else. That's funny. It's actually something we're working on with a restaurant group right now, where we're like liquefying the formula and putting it in cocktails.
Oh,
so,
stop.
Yeah. So I want that to be a thing. It's like your last drink, you get it. Like your last drink should be the one that like helps you
Yes,
and like puts you to bed. Like you do, like, whatever people are spending like $20-$30 on cocktails, like make your last one.
And you know what you can call it, and you could trademark this. I don't need any royalties.
Let's hear it.
You could last call Lucky Lad.
Last call, baby. I like it.
Last call. It's when the bar's shutting down. Everyone says, "All right, guys, from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. It's the last call, Lucky Lads." And then every single drink is infused with Lucky Loud, so that way everyone goes home and they don't wake up completely shitty. And imagine if that was every bar across the country, man. I think you'd be set for a while.
100%. Yeah, you'll get your royalty check, don't worry.
Thanks, man. But dude, this was fun, man. I can't believe we're almost at an hour. Because I want to talk a lot about different protocols and things like that. The one thing are you good on time, by the way?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to kind of dip into a little bit, because we do share a lot of our For You pages similar. I wanted to know your sleep protocols, because for me, I've been doing a couple of things the last 60 days. And if you haven't noticed, we have a daughter now. She's 8 months.
Yeah, congratulations, man.
Oh, thanks, man. And it was so tough, dude, obviously, for the first... It's still to the day. But the first 6 months in particular, I stopped working out. I just wasn't no time, right? And my wife is nursing as well. So it's like every time she does that, I got to take over everything else, which is fine. Least I could do, of course. But, it's been a challenge to kind of get adjusted. But now that I'm back into it, the last 45 days, I've been aggressively every single morning. First thing I do when I wake up, either I'll bring my daughter with me outside. We'll do some grounding. And then we'll let the sun hit. The time change kind of sucks because the sun rises like almost at 8, which kind of blows because it's way too late. But when it was like 6:37, we'd get up, we'd go outside. I'd do some breath work for 10, 15 minutes. And then immediately I'd take her in the garage with me. I would do my ice plunge. She would watch and laugh every time I would go under the water. But I'd do that for 5 minutes. And then if I train, I'll work out immediately afterwards. And then I'll do the sauna. And then I take a cold shower. And then I start my day. By this time, it's about 9:30, right? And then at the end of the day, I start to wind down. I've actually been doing my phone right about 7 p.m. because I have a huge nighttime scrolling problem because our daughter goes to bed like at 7:30. So I caught me and my wife just staring at our phones for like an hour. And I was like, it's a problem. So I've been doing this. Double click it 3 times and it goes gray.
Oh, dude.
Oh, do you got it too?
I got the red version.
Dude, I did the red version. Let me tell you, it might be better from a science standpoint, but it annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the idea. But I'm like, if I can alleviate all color, the black and white I've been doing for a week. I did the red for a month, and it was like, it did make me set down my phone, which I guess is the idea. But in terms of the light hitting me, the black and white helps me a lot because it doesn't make anything cool. It's so bland. Like when you look at a photo, if you're scrolling on TikTok and you see like a chick doing squats in a bikini, you're like, in black and white, it doesn't look good.
Exactly.
But you put that on color and it's like, boom. So I've been doing that, and that's helped me alleviate screen time. And then I got a Manta sleep mask that has the sound. It's the Manta sound one, and I'll link up and I'll do meditation music. No TV. I stopped doing TV. I used to do TV in bed. I stopped doing that completely. Replaced it with the sound mask and the meditation music. And I have been sleeping so good. Mm. And I don't know if it's because that's a lot. People hear my schedule like, dude, how do you? And I go, it's hard, but it's worth it because if it can tack on 5 years at the end of my life, it's worth it to me. So that's obviously a very, you got to have a lot of time. You got to have a lot of patience for that. But like in terms of your schedule as a whole, what have you noticed that have really helped you out from a sleep standpoint? Because I know you've been tracking a lot. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I'd say for me, like the number one biggest thing has just been like sleep and wake time. Mm. And whenever like that's disrupted too much, like everything else can be perfect and the quality of sleep won't be great.
Sure.
So just trying to be militant about going to bed like 10 every night and waking up like between like whatever 6 or 7 or whatever the time is. And as long as like I'm, it's like hard because over the weekend you go out and like, you sleep a little bit later one night and then the next night, your body's used to sleeping later and it's like hard to catch up.
Yeah.
But it's tough, man, even like staying like super diligent on that over the weekends where it's like sleep at the exact same time, wake up at the exact same time.
For sure.
As long as like I have that rhythm, like stuff's generally going in the right direction. And then, for me, dude, like I'd say like this is like a little bit more unique to me, but I would find that or maybe it's not unique to me. I'd find that like my I'd have like a really overactive central nervous system, and like I toss and turn a lot, and anything that can kind of help like calm me and keep me in place at night helps me a lot with sleep. So, weighted blankets help me like crazy, just like not roll around.
Yeah.
Really, really firm pillow that keeps my head in place so my neck's not like tweaking all night.
Nice.
L-theanine helps me a lot, and like just kind of like
Yeah.
calming the nerves. Yeah, I found that like supplements are like for me at least are like pretty meaningful for making me like helping me fall asleep. Like I try to not use melatonin too much, but magnesium, L-theanine, like GABA helps a lot. What else, dude? Yeah, I'm super temperature sensitive as well. If like, my room's not freezing cold, I'm just like waking up every couple of hours. So temperature for me is big, and then also I never like a more recent one has just been light, where I kind of just felt like my eyes are closed. Like, what does it matter if like there's light creeping in the
Right.
room? But yeah, sleep masks has helped like crazy. Just like not wake up at 5.
Yeah, man. Yeah, people don't understand like when you can get like legit blackout, a sleep mask. That's why I love the Mantas. Is it's got the cups where you can adjust.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like you can even sometimes I even have the TV on when I first did this to transition just to get the sound, and then eventually I switched to this the Spotify to hear some meditation music. But even just having the TV on, still nothing. You can't see any lights, and that's a big deal, dude. Because when you close your eyes, I always tell people like when they're like, "Does it really matter?" I go, "Dude, close your eyes and go out at 3 p.m. and look at the sun. Tell me if it matters."
Yeah.
It matters, dude, because those eyelids are not as thick as you might think. So you're getting that artificial light, and that I think is the worst thing that I've realized is just as much blue light as I get throughout the day, especially working from home. And even if you don't work from home, even if you work at a job where you're staring at a computer all day, dude, think about it. You wake up at 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. Especially if you have a lucky lad, you're good to go. But if you wake up at 7 a.m., you go to your job at 8, you're on a computer screen till, 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Then you go home, you have dinner, you watch TV at 7 p.m. day. That's literally your entire day, except for maybe 3 hours you're not watching a screen. And that doesn't include phone time. That's just TV time. And we all know we're looking at our phones. So it's like, it's very damaging. And the more and more research you do about it, especially with like EMF frequencies and all that. Have you dived into that at all?
A little bit. There's
it's
always
terrifying.
I try to leave my phone outside my room now, which has been like I think it's like the sleep stuff, the hardest thing. I'm the same way. I had a problem with being on my phone for like an hour before bed, and then also right when I wake up, which is horrible.
Yeah.
So, dude, yeah, it's like you think I'm like, oh, I'm not sleepy yet, it's just because like you're on your phone. You're not like you're not you go to sleep. So I'm just like awake for an extra hour, and like in the morning it takes me like another 30 minutes to get out of bed, and like leaving your phone outside your room, game changer. But it's the hardest thing, and I'll still always like relapse every couple weeks and like go to bed with the phone. I'm like, stop.
Dude, that's a great idea, leaving it outside your home or outside your room. That's a great idea. I didn't even think about that. That would be tough. Yeah. I might try to leave it like in the bathroom. I'm always weird about like leaving, anything outside. Like I have my weapons and my phone. I want to be close to my nightstand. I even lock my door like I'm a crazy person. That was actually the hardest thing for me because my brain is not from this earth. I don't think it moves in a way that I've been told is not normal. It's like no matter what I do, even when I'm sitting still with no caffeine, I just my mind goes. If you see my Notion account, it's like someone threw up millions of ideas. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe it's the entrepreneur in me or something, but it's very annoying because at night was the hardest thing for me. That's why I always fell asleep with the TV on, is because I needed some sort of stimulation to counteract it. Which is a horrible way of thinking. Which is why I do the meditation music, and that helps a little bit. But I eventually would like to get out of that. And I'll try to do it every now and then where I'll just have my sleep mask, no music. But then my mind races so much and I think about so many things that I just can't go to sleep. It's like I feel it progressively getting worse and worse if it's completely silent, where like I know it's happening. Like 10 minutes later, when it's complete darkness and I have all these thoughts going through my head, I'm like, I'm not going to sleep for 2 hours. I know it. It's happening.
Dude, I'm the exact same way. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, my brain goes crazy, and like if I'm just like chilling, like it's like wild where like places my brain goes. Yeah, dude, I kind of just found like for that, it's that you're never really processing thoughts, like aside from when you're just like about to go to bed, there's no stimulus, like you're in bed alone.
Yeah.
It's like you think you have time to think and stuff, but like most people when they're working out, they're listening to music, or when they're in the car, they're listening to music, or if they're on a walk, they're like, whatever, AirPods in or something. So
Yeah.
I found that helps me a bunch. Like just take out as much stimulus as possible during the day, so that like when it's nighttime and you're about to go to bed, it's like, like Naval, this guy talks about, he's like, your inbox needs to be at 0 at all times.
That's
where, if you're not processing thoughts, you're just like inbox is getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And then at night, you just like, that's the time you have to like work through it. And then you're thinking about shit from like a month ago.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that has helped a little bit that I've noticed that I'm going to start doing more of is writing out everything that I do at the end of the night. Like, so it's almost 5 o'clock. So I'll probably like around 4 o'clock, I have this massive whiteboard where I'll just write down everything I have to do tomorrow, or for the whole week, depending on the project. And that I feel like helps me because I won't check my emails. I won't find myself, because without me doing that, if I come up with an idea, especially for like a podcast or a guest, or if there's a client I want to work with, I'll shoot them a DM immediately. So like if I'm scrolling on TikTok and I'm like, oh, I want to work with this brand, and I'll make a note. I'll go to my Notions app and I'll be like, reach out via email to Lucky Lad, right? And I'll do that. But instead, I write everything on this board. And then after that, it's not business. Because I know if I send a DM to that brand in the middle of the day or after work, I'm going to be thinking about it until I send out that email, right? I can't just put something in my notes to do it later on, because until I do it, I won't stop thinking about it. So I write everything down, and then I just put my phone away, and that's it. It's done. And that's helped me a little bit, but man, it is hard. Like you said, you relapse if you try to do it, because we're addicted. We're addicted.
Yeah. You're getting all your genius breakthroughs at night, huh?
Dude, it's so bad. My wife makes fun of me all the time because like she'll be scrolling. That's the difference between the two of us. So yeah, I post and ghost. So when I like post a podcast, or I do a video and I post it, I don't scroll. Like my For You page, again, like yours, where it's like it's educational stuff. So like if I'm listening to like a clip of Atia or Huberman or something like that, and I listen to it, it's like, oh, that's a dope topic, I'm gonna talk about it on the podcast, and I'll write it down. So it's not like I'm watching people fall down or watching dancing videos. Like I'm consuming to educate, and then I use that education to create my own content. And that is my biggest problem. I think it was Colin and Samir who talked about this, where ever since they started their YouTube, the only time they consume content now is for content, to make their own. And that is a huge, it's a positive for them because they've been very successful, but it's a huge problem because now you're looking for more and more content in everything. Yeah. And I find myself doing that in public, even when I'm not creating. Me and my wife, we go to the beach and I'm like, oh, this will be a dope video, like doing this. And I'm like, fuck, I need to stop. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of that I think is like just the experience of being in the industry for so long, but it's also like, I think it's the future, man. It's our kids, it's going to be the world that they live in. If it's not AR or VR, it's going to be in a very social media world. And it's unfortunate because I think it's horrible for our health, but I just don't see it going anywhere,
Yeah, everyone wants to be a content creator, and I find the same thing. I'm just like out in the world. I'm like, man, I could do a quick 2 minutes on that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And it's also weird because it's not like I think we share the same belief of it's not necessarily for the fame or for the likes or the follows. I think that's dangerous. The reason I do it is because I just like to document. I think it's fascinating. I think it's interesting, and I have a horrible memory. So like I would get these pop-ups from like 2 years ago, podcasts I've done with this guest, and we talked about this really interesting topic, and I'm like, oh shit, that's dope. I didn't even remember that. But it's out there, right? Like I get a notification from Facebook, hey, this is what happened last year. Like it's cool to put stuff out because it's out there. It's in the cloud. It's I'll get the memory eventually one day. Like I'm not going to store a hard drive of every single piece of content I put out there. So it's cool to put it out to the universe because A, people might get value from it, but B, it's also a good reminder for me 10 years down the road when you know, see, hey, this is what happened 10 years ago. Tony and Ali talked about, you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of one of those things that's how I look at it. And I think that's probably my way of justifying the addiction, but it's also, I think there's a little bit of truth to it too.
Yeah, totally. I think like for documenting is awesome. Like, dude, for me, it was just that like I feel like I'm a pretty creative person, and I like one of the things that excited me about like brand building and e-commerce was that like it's this crazy creative thing or a creative outlet, but it's like not really like such a small piece of it is like design and brand and creativity. Everything else is just like accounting, finance, analytics. So it's like this thing that you got into to be creative is like now the least creative like part of your day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I need to do everything or do something every day, or else like that part of you like dies over time.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's almost like it makes you think about like the famous artists in the world that we hear about. You know what I mean? Like whether it's creative artists or Da Vinci or Michelangelo, like how. What did they feel like on a daily basis? Like I always think about stuff like that because those are true. They're artists, right? Like if they weren't painting, what were they doing? And that's kind of how I feel. Like if I'm not creating content, what am I doing? And I think when it's embedded in your DNA, you have to find it. And I think there's a huge benefit that we're able to do that because it is something we like doing. So it's cool that we have these platforms, as long as they don't get banned, to constantly do it. But it is weird. It's kind of like a sickness. I look at it sometimes, for sure. But is it just you doing everything? By the way,
yeah,
Lucky Lad?
One man show. There's a lot of people who kind of help me on like contract type basis. No legit employees or anything. But yeah, man, just me plugging away.
Good for you, bro. I tell you, as long as you could do that, keep doing it. Because one thing I realized when I was delegating is no one's going to be you. So once you hit a certain point, hopefully you could delegate to, not work as hard, but yeah, you're doing the right thing. Keep it up, dude. You don't want it to lose its mustard. You know what I mean?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So where can people find you? I'm gonna leave all the links below. But where can people find you? And let us know what else you got going on, buddy.
Yeah, so you can check out the brand at luckylad.co. If you kind of run into a lot of the same stuff that we talked about productivity and hangovers, try it out. You can find me. I'm sure you'll throw a link in my TikTok where I'm sharing the journey of how I'm building the brand. But yeah, man, that's about it. Not a whole lot going on, just building this brand, trying to make it the best product out there for hangovers and helping people be more productive after they drink.
Fucking love it. All right, dude. Well, listen, stay on after this, after I close out, but keep doing what you're doing, man. And I appreciate the time, buddy. And hopefully we'll get down and maybe we can do this in person one day in the U.S.
Let's do it, man.
All right, brother. Talk soon, man.